Hello, listeners. This is Janine
and Kristen
from Henrico Casa. You are listening to our podcast, Vigilant Voices. Living life every day. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Vigilant Voices,
our podcast from Henrico Casa.
And listener, we are so glad you're here with us today. And if you missed our last episode about early childhood learning, I would encourage you to go back and listen to that first.
Yes, because we talked about the importance of learning in those early years, specifically ages 0 to 5. Before school even starts.
Right. Because there's a lot of important learning to be done before formal school even starts.
Right.
And similarly, there's a lot of important learning that needs to be done outside of school for older youth or teenagers.
Right. Because teen life skills are also sometimes overlooked when we talk about education.
Right.
But it's so vital that teens learn and develop in ways beyond academics, right? They're just at such a critical point in life.
Because technically, they're about to become adults.
Yes, and there's so much they need to know to successfully make that transition.
Right. And it's not just about classes in school. It really is about some larger life skills.
Right.
You know, just managing things like managing money or building healthy relationships that are supportive.
Yeah, like navigating work and school responsibilities, setting boundaries.
Yeah, and taking ownership, right? I mean, the list goes on. And so we really want them to be prepared to make safe and smart decisions as they transition into adulthood.
Right. And that's what we wanted for Gary in today's Casa case story. Gary is a teen who hasn't had a lot of consistency in his life. Well, okay, I should probably say the one thing that has been consistent has been change.
Which that's not great. And I hate that for him because so much change can really make youth feel very unsafe and just, I don't know, unsure and
unseen, right?
Right.
I know for Gary, the custody and visitation arrangements between his parents were always changing. So he never lived anywhere consistently for long. And he didn't have a lot of structure or much of a schedule, which, you know, as he got older, turned into looking like not a lot of oversight.
Right.
And Gary ended up expelled from school and living with a great grandparent. And this relative, was so wonderful to take Gary in, but this relative was significantly older than most teenagers' parents.
Big generation gap.
Yeah, there was. And so he really had a difficult time keeping up with Gary's needs.
Well, and just, realistically, the first thing that comes to mind is technology.
Oh, for sure.
Right? I'm assuming great-grandfather maybe wasn't all up to speed on things like Snapchat and iPhones and electronic school. The list goes on.
Right. And let alone the many supports and services that Gary was eligible for and probably was needing, but just wasn't like actually getting, right, the support he needed. But we'll get back to Gary and his great-grandfather at the end of this episode.
And as usual, I have no doubt that we will see what happens once Gary's advocate got involved.
Yeah.
But before we do that, let's kind of take that higher look. And so Gary, like many of the teens we serve at Henrico Casa, are at risk of entering adulthood without the kind of safety net or consistent guidance that so many of us may truly have or have taken for granted.
Yeah, we're talking about teens who may have spent years in foster care.
Right.
They may have bounced between placements. They've probably been let down by adults who were supposed to care for them. And now they're being asked to take care of themselves and take on adult responsibilities.
And that's oftentimes before they're ready or before they have the skills.
Right. And that's where CASA can come in. Our advocates aren't just checking in on like school grades or court dates. They're a steady, trusted adult in a teen's life. Our advocates are, someone who listens, encourages them, and helps them take those first steps towards independence.
And truly, those steps toward independence can absolutely be overwhelming.
Oh my gosh, yes.
There's a lot. And so we value our role as advocates because we can walk beside these youth.
Right.
And these youth often need someone who is in essence saying, I see you, I believe in you, and hey, let's try to figure this out together.
Yeah, and having someone like that can change everything. Whether it's a CASA advocate or some other trusted adult.
Right. Someone who can help build up the teens, as I mentioned, sort of basic life skills.
Yep. And that's exactly the type of learning that needs to be happening outside of school.
Right. And the teens we serve, really maybe have not had someone teach them the basics of budgeting or, I don't know, how to cook a basic meal.
Yeah.
How to apply for a job or a driver's license. maybe ways to identify toxic relationships or that they're getting involved in them, right?
Yeah, and real talk, some of the teens we work with have never seen what stable adulthood even looks like.
Right, and let's think about that. I mean, how are you supposed to build a healthy future when you've never been shown what that actually looks like?
Right.
And I think that's just yet another reason that I'm so thankful CASA advocates are around to help kind of bridge that gap and modeling, right, for our teens and our older youth.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen advocates walk through job applications with teens. We've seen them celebrate things like a first paycheck, right? We've seen advocates talk through hard conversations about relationships or, how to set goals for your future.
And again, these things individually may sound small, but they're really actually huge generally, but certainly for many of the youth that we're serving. And it really is all about building confidence and really capability.
Yeah. And it's also about encouragement, right? Like that can't be overstated. Teens who have lived through trauma often don't have someone rooting for them. And so at CASA, as advocates, we get to be that voice saying, you can do this and I'm here to help.
Yeah. And I would agree with you that encouragement definitely, can't be overstated. The same with helping them just dream and plan. I mean, there's a lot to what we call the science of hope, right?
Yeah.
And so asking questions like, what do you want your future to look like can really go a very long way.
Right. Especially if you take the time to really listen to their answer, right? We've seen teens open up, try something new, or change their whole outlook just because someone listened and believed in them.
Yeah. And belief is powerful, especially when you're a teen who's maybe never had that consistency.
Right.
Or for the youth who have experienced abuse, neglect, or systemic involvement. I mean, trust is a really fragile thing.
Yep.
So when our CASA advocates, and we use CASA, but it can be, as we've talked about many times, any other safe or stable adult show up again and again. I mean, that's when our teens and older youth begin to realize that maybe I'm not in this alone.
Yeah. And so the main tip we want to give you, listener, in working with and encouraging teens is to be forward-looking. We're not just addressing the trauma of the past. We're trying to help them build a future.
And that's about planting seeds of resilience, but also responsibility too.
Right. We want teens to know that they can break cycles and make different choices than their parents or caregivers.
Exactly. And practically speaking, that may mean connecting the teens in our lives with resources beyond school. Maybe it's an independent living program or mental health services. I'm a big fan of the vocational training or mentorship opportunities.
Yeah. And, as one person, we clearly can't do everything. But we're trying to make sure the teens have access to everything they need, like with Gary, right? Yeah. He had one person, and again, it was an elderly relative caring for him. But when Gary was referred to CASA by the judge in his case, he gained a second person helping him, and that was his CASA advocate. And his advocate had raised teens of his own. So he knew all about Zoomers transitioning into adulthood.
Zoomers, love that one.
That's what they're calling Gen Z. I had to look it up.
I get it.
Gary's advocate invested a lot of time in getting to know him and treated him, as a bit of a peer, not like a child.
Yeah.
And in response, Gary shared his thoughts, opinions, and experiences.
Yeah, I mean, opening up can take time, but I love that that is exactly what the advocate had to share with Gary was that time to get him to open up.
Right, and that time totally paid off. The advocate was able to encourage Gary to pursue plans for his future. He also helped him connect with some mental health counseling and other services that kind of offset the stress around pursuing his higher education.
Right.
And there was no one thing that this advocate did that was like a key heavy lift. It was just the ongoing encouragement and support that kind of snowballed over time, helping Gary transition into adulthood with the tools he needed to be successful.
Yeah, not just successful, right, in school or career. I mean, successful in life.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you're listening and wondering, okay, well, what can I do in this type of situation? Here is our call to action. Be an encourager for the teens in your life.
Yep. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have all the answers for them. But showing up, listening, and saying, I believe in you matters more than you know.
Yeah, pay attention, right? I mean, if a teen, doesn't have a steady adult in their corner, then you can be that person.
Yeah. And if you want to take it a step further, we'd ask you to consider becoming a CASA advocate. our teens need advocates who won't give up on them, people who will keep encouraging them to try again, dream bigger, and move forward, even when life is hard.
Yeah. And that means we can't promise that it's easy, but we can promise that it is meaningful. And so watching teens step into adulthood with confidence and then knowing that you had a small hand in that, I mean, that really can be life-changing. And I think that would be life-changing for them, but also for you.
Yeah, that's so true. So, listener, thanks so much for listening today. If this conversation inspired you, and we hope it did, you can learn more about supporting teens through CASA on our website. We'll link to it in the show notes, but it's henricocasa.org. And on the site, you'll find stories, resources, and ways to get involved.
And until next time, be vigilant and be someone's encourager.
Thank you for listening to Vigilant Voices, Henrico Casa's podcast. We have a vision for all children to live in safe, healthy homes. You can help us make that happen. Tell a friend about our podcast and find us on social media.
I believe in a better day.